Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about why BlueYellow Icarus sucks competitively in set 15 format. Now, before you post an angry comment down below, let me explain myself. So obviously Icarus won Nationals, at least the North American Nationals, and it was a mono yellow variant of the deck. So obviously the mono yellow variant is very, very good. Nationals winning deck. But BlueYellow did not even crack the top 16. Not sure if it cracked top 32, but still, top 16 is really what matters as far as that event is concerned. And another reason why I think BlueYellow Icarus sucks is because for our team testing for Nationals, this was the first deck we thought to test. Like, I've been playing Icarus forever. A lot of the other guys on the team really like the deck, before the ban list. So we thought we got to try this deck, see if it works with the new set 15 tools. And it was just getting beat by everything. Not beat by like a super wide margin or anything like that. Not getting absolutely smashed. Maybe in some matchups, but like the Soul Strikers and the other yellow decks, the green decks, like it was playable, but it always felt like it fell a little short. And now with like the Nationals results, going over the top cut yesterday, reflecting over my experience in Nationals, I have more of like an idea of why that is, why mono yellow is so much better, why the blue yellow version is no longer really super viable. And one thing you got to consider, guys, Trey Faircloth top 8'd with yellow Icarus. He played mono yellow. That guy is a Sensu Bean addict. So for him to actually be convinced to cut Sensu Bean from Icarus, you got to know that it's like a really legitimate thing. Shout out to you, Trey. But anyways, we'll get more into this. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. But let's talk about why BlueYellow Icarus sucks competitively. All right, so obviously I've said it a million times. The set 15 ban list gutted BlueYellow Icarus. People thought it would still be playable though, but obviously we lost Violent Rush Bojack, and Zamasu the Eliminator is no longer the card that it once was. No longer able to counterplay Unisons. Now it can only really just counterplay battle cards, which is still useful. Like if your opponent plays Topo Righteous Aid or Robotic Riposte in like a mirror match, you can still counterplay that for relatively cheap and draw a card, maybe tap something down. The tap down effect is still very, very good against boss monsters, especially if they have deflect. So that's really nice, and to be honest, that's actually a thing that the mono yellow variant or most mono yellow decks don't have unless you tech very specific cards like Mutaito, for example. You don't usually have too many great ways to counterplay deflect bombs, again, unless you tech very, very specifically. So Zamasu was really great for that, but one of the main problems with Zamasu for modern BlueYellow Icarus is that it does cost you your one blue. So if you don't have multiple blue yellows charged and you have to use Zamasu, now you have no more access to Sensu Bean for the turn because Violent Rush Bojack is banned. Like, BlueYellow Icarus used to play with so much energy because you would get as much energy as many beans as you would draw, but you would also get so much more energy from constantly resolving Bojack's Aegis effect. Now with only having access to Bean, your energy is so much more limited that the deck is just like way more clunky now, and we absolutely felt that in our team crossworld testing. We super felt that testing BlueYellow Icarus for Nationals, and it made us get off the deck really quickly. I do have to say though, we didn't really put too much stock into mono yellow Icarus. That was a great play by the Universe Z guys, and again, shout out to Andrew Duvall for winning Nationals with the deck, definitely putting it on the map for sure as the next way to probably just play Icarus going forward. So that was a really cool thing. But anyways, at least like leading up to Nationals, you would still think, I think a lot of players would still think to play BlueYellow and Icarus just because of how it's been played in the past and because of access to Sensu Bean, right? Like, it just makes sense. BlueYellow Icarus, Sensu Bean lets you make more plays. That's great. Sensu Bean is the main driving force to play BlueYellow now, when before the set 15 ban list, it was probably Bojack. Bojack was probably the main reason you wanted to play blue, and Sensu Bean was more of just like an added benefit in that sense. But without Bojack, Bean becomes the #1 reason why you want to play Sensu Bean. And the rest of this video is going to get pretty competitively analytical. We're going to talk about, evaluating cards, deciding whether they're good or bad. I did a video about this like 2 weeks ago, so if you want more kind of explanations as to why or how you can read if cards are good or bad, go check that video out from, again, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But yeah, if you want more competitive content like this, make sure to check out the Patreon down in the description. I actually have a free article from yesterday going over my Nationals tournament experience. I think it's a pretty good read. But anyways, yeah, so Bean is the main reason you might want to play BlueYellow Icarus going forward. But what you have to consider is now the other BlueYellow cards you have to play in order to play Sensu Bean. Zamasu Eliminator is obviously a 4 of you'll probably play in a BlueYellow Icarus deck. The other card now that Bojack is gone is probably SS Rose Goku Black Apocalypse Schemer. And this card's really strong, but in the current format, it's really tricky to use. So let me explain. So you play this guy for 4. he spawns you 4 blocker tokens. Right off the rip, the blocker tokens are actually very susceptible to, you know, counterplay in the literal sense and in the more objective sense. So like, obviously your opponent can god sealing the tokens if they're playing blue, they can rest the tokens if they're playing yellow with many different cards, and then the tokens are also just very weak to Secret Identity Mass Sand, which is the main deck overrealm of most decks. So that makes the card a lot weaker in the context of the current format. The other problem with the card is, as powerful as its effect is to give you an energy back upon the end of your turn, it's still very costly. You play it for 4, you get 1 energy back, but again, now you don't have Bojack, so you have to make that 1 energy work during your opponent's turn if you need to interrupt what they're doing. And again, let's say the blockers get counterplay, let's say the blockers get wiped by Secret ID, and you only have that 1 energy to defend yourself. What do? If your opponent plays a battle card that you like absolutely need to respond to with, let's say, a Steadfast Assistance Goku, now you're fully tapped out. Again, no more access to Bean, no more access to your 10k combos, no extra cards if they require energy. So that's a big problem. So one of the things that we quickly noticed in our testing was that Rose Goku Black wasn't even worth it anymore. So we cut it down to 2 at first. We were playing very few copies because there were still circumstances where it was a good card. But again, that scenario where like you only get 1 energy back made it really bad more often than not. Like, you would be really hoping your opponent would attack you first so you could Bean and then have additional energy to maybe use a Zamasu counterplay or maybe use Sensu Bean or just have additional energy open for different things. But yeah, eventually we ended up cutting Rose Goku Black completely before we kind of just got off BlueYellow Icarus altogether. But by doing that now, you have to really consider that the quality of BlueYellow cards you're playing just to play Sensu Bean is very low. And even though, you know, Icarus has been historically played BlueYellow and Sensu Bean's a very powerful card, the BlueYellow cards you have to play are now such lower quality. Like, Bojack was just an absolute 10 out of 10 beast of a card. Obviously that's why it got banned, and that was a great excuse just to play Sensu Bean. But now with the lower quality of BlueYellow stuff, it's much more difficult to justify it. But of course, that brings us into the set 15 BlueYellow cards, which are very good cards. Vegeta Kaba Lesson Learned and SS2 Kefla Lightning Speed are very powerful rivals. For a long time, we didn't really see a lot of like mid-battle interruption. It was kind of broken in the early days of Dragon Ball Super with like Shugesh Kid Goku just popping any battle card in rest mode mid-battle. But we've slowly been getting more cards like that. But set 15 gave BlueYellow really powerful tools to be doing that stuff, right? And you would think that these cards would be the reason to play Gohan Icarus. Again, we tried builds with both these cards being the focal point. Talking about SS2 Kefla first, it just, unfortunately, in our opinion, doesn't work well in Icarus. The reason is it costs 2 blues. So go back to that same problem I said before about Zamasu the Eliminator taking up your 1 blue if you only have 1 blue charged. Now, if you want to play SS2 Kefla and still be able to resolve Sensu Bean after the fact, you have to have 3 blues charged. Otherwise, you're tapping out all your blue energy and you have no more access to Sensu Bean. That can be somewhat okay if you're going for game and aggressively rivaling Kefla, but if you need to defensively rival Kefla and continue to make more defensive plays, that's going to put you in a really bad spot. Vegeta Kaba, much cheaper on the energy and very flexible, where you can use it for a blue or a yellow, so that's really good. I did like this arrival much more in my set 15 version of BlueYellow Icarus, but it didn't always come up where you could bottom deck a 4-drop, right? There were good scenarios, like if your opponent attacks with Robotic Riposte, or if your opponent attacks with a Goku Rose Black in the mirror match, let's just say. And like BlueYellow Soul Striker probably plays a lot of 4-drops like Vegeta Kaba and Rose Goku Black, so that's all well and good. But again, the card just wasn't like always incredible. A lot of times I actually wish I was playing OG Goku Hit more often, because it could serve as that dual attacker or that dual blocker, depending on the situation you needed, where Vegeta Kaba was only really a removal and only a dual attacker. It didn't give you like the best flexibility of offense and defense compared to OG Goku Hit, if that makes sense. But anyways, I did want to briefly mention the new Goku Hit card, Temporary Truce, which, going back to what I was saying before about Goku Black, the quality of BlueYellow card you're playing just to include Sensu Bean, like you're playing some number of just freak BlueYellow combos in your deck. And that was super justifiable when Bojack was a card, because putting Bojack in play was borderline broken. But now, just to play this card, just to play Vegeta Kaba and maybe SS2 Kefla, again, you're bogging down the value of your deck, or the value of the individual cards in your deck, to include Sensu Bean, which is really great, but you also now have to play these arrivals that they cost 10k to combo. They can be very awkward to put in play in the case of Kefla. Sometimes they don't always do something incredible in every situation like Vegeta Kaba. So those are things you really want to consider. But just wrapping up, like transitioning into the mono yellow version of Icarus, every card in the deck is just gas. In yesterday's video, I talked about how good Lord Slug Super Namekian probably was for Andrew and the other guys that played mono yellow Icarus in top 16. The card just like absolutely destroys Rogue. It's a barrier battle card that is really hard for a lot of decks to deal with. And now without the blue yellow cards in your deck, yes, you lose access to Bean and access to energy manipulation, but you can now fit this 6-card engine of 3 1-drops and 3 Lord Slug Super Namekians to just really you know, shut your opponent's strategy down, or at least shut their draw power down, which is incredible. Turtle's all too easy. One of the best mono yellow cards I've ever printed, obviously only playable in yellow sand leaders. You would most certainly play this even in a blue yellow version of the deck, but this can really just be like the crux of your deck now without having to worry about, you know, tapping specific energy and stuff like that. Like, I'm just trying to say that the quality of the yellow cards, the mono yellow cards that you're playing in this deck, is so high, it's honestly kind of absurd. So that's really my whole point with the video. Hopefully you guys didn't just take it as, you know, me dumping on a deck that you guys should know by now. I absolutely love BlueYellow Icarus. I really put a lot of heart and soul into that deck. I loved it. I played it before anyone else really even thought it was good. Yes, it was outshined by Mecha in that format, but still, like, I'm just really happy that I saw the potential in the leader and in the archetype. But now with Bojack on and Zamasu the way it is, it's just not as good, frankly, and mono yellow is probably just the way to go. But anyways, of course, I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.